If you don't know, we covered it previously. Donald Trump just recently signed an executive order that makes being homeless illegal. It also makes anybody who is mentally ill, you can be unwillingly detained and thrown into a mental health facility, which is just a concentration camp where they will force you to participate in slave labor. You don't need to take my word for it. You can go read the fucking executive order yourself, or you can go back and watch one of my videos where we read it together and do a deep dive into it. But J.D. Vance was just asked directly by a United States military veteran, hey, you're rounding up the homeless. Where are they going? And instead of answering the question, J.D. Vance said, why is it that we care about the homeless? Why is it that, you know, you don't have a problem with the homeless screaming at us all the time and being fucking disgusting, festering monsters on the streets? And no, this is literally his verbiage. So I need you to understand something. The Trump regime does not view the homeless or the mentally ill as people. They view them as husks. They view them as filth, as vermin. And that is because the Trump regime is a bunch of Nazis thrown into the Oval Office. And if you voted for Donald Trump, you are inferior to me, and you should shut the fuck up forever, unless you want to join the OAL, the Only Americans Left, an amalgamation of people who understand that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And if you still support Donald Trump, you're a bootlicking, servile dog person. And I think that you deserve to be treated poorly. Anyway, hi, I'm Chris Valenti. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing and it helps me immensely. If you do want to support this channel financially, don't forget to click the thanks button down below to donate. Don't forget to buy some of this dope-ass merch down below. Don't forget the 40% off discount code down below. You can become a member here on YouTube down below by clicking the join button, and you can become a member on Patreon. And to everybody else, thank you very much for 85,000 subs. Let's watch J.D. Vance's most horrifying non-answer of his political career.
Sir, I'm George Cheedy. I write for The Guardian. I live in a small town, less than 1,000 people. I'm also a military veteran. I am a Dinfos-trained killer just like you.
Thank you for your service, George.
In 1996, in Atlanta, when the Olympics was coming through, Atlanta very famously rounded up people who were homeless on the street downtown, bought them bus tickets, and sent them out of town and often out of state. There's a lot of negative sentiment about that later. It's
because that's fucking insane.
Things that people remember. I am concerned that in the press
Dude, literally, the Trump regime's answer to homelessness, the Republicans' answer to homelessness has always been the same. And it's fucking Patrick Starr. When that giant worm came to town, they go, what if we just took the homeless and pushed them somewhere else? This is like, you know when you have a fucking ice cube on the floor and instead of picking it up and throwing it in the sink, they just kick it underneath the fucking fridge and they're like, nobody will see it. That is the Republican answer to homelessness and poverty, is just hide it and pretend like nothing happened.
Eliminate encampments in D.C., something similar to that is happening. What is happening to the people who are homeless, often poor, often have a mental health problem or a drug problem? Where are they actually going when these campments?
Very, very simple question. You're rounding up the homeless and the mentally ill. What is happening to these people and where are they going? An incredibly simple answer.
Are being broken.
So first of all, George, I was 12 years old when the 1996 Summer Games happened in Atlanta, so I don't remember exactly the background there.
You're the fucking vice president of the United States. That's not a valid excuse. Shut the fuck up, you couch fucking piece of shit.
I was worried about football and fishing and doing all the things that a 12-year-old in southwestern Ohio was worried about.
Like fucking couches?
But I think that the question betrays a certain misunderstanding of what we're trying to do and what is...
The question is, what's happening to these people and where are you putting them?
The nature of real compassion. I talked earlier about my son being harassed at Union Station a couple of years ago. Now, first, as a father, you have some vagrant screaming crazy stuff. I'm sure a lot of us have had this experience where you have some vagrant screaming crazy stuff at your 3-year-old. As a father, my first reaction is, grab my son closer, make sure that he's safe. Okay.
Yeah, my ass, bro. I bet you grabbed your son to use him as a fucking meat shield.
Then you realize the person's not going to maybe run and charge and attack us. We'll just keep our distance. But then you think, wait a second. Why have we convinced ourselves that it's compassionate to allow a person who's obviously a schizophrenic or suffering from some other mental illness, why is it compassionate to let that person fester in the streets?
Word choice matters. Fester in streets like an open wound. They do not view these people as people. Have you heard Trump or J.D. Vance or anybody mention the fact that these are American citizens? That a lot of these are United States military? These are our veterans? No, because they do not view them as people. They view them as festering wounds.
You see them, they're...
And then they cheer. And then the dog men cheer. This is why I tell you, this isn't politics. You're not up against people who disagree with you politically. You are up against enemies of humanity. You are up against literal fucking Nazis.
You know, a lot of them have clear mental health issues. A lot of them have clear physical health issues. They're not properly clothed. They're not properly cared for. Some of them are wasting away. The compassionate thing is to have people who are having mental health crises, to get them in treatment, not to let them sit on the streets and yell at our people.
Yeah. No, you're right. We should get them in treatment. So are you going to be spending any money to make homeless shelters or mental health facilities or reallocate any of the money that you gave to ICE, which is now more heavily funded than the Marines? Are you going to use any of that money to actually help these people? Because according to Trump's executive order that he signed, you just made homelessness illegal. So you're rounding them up and sending them where? Concentration camps to be used as slave labor as appropriated in the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution? When you are thrown in prison, you can be used as slave labor. It says it. Clear as day. You don't believe me? Go look it up. The word unless is in there. Slavery shall be abolished in the United States unless you are in prison. Is that what you're doing with these people? Because I'm going to speculate because you won't answer the fucking question.
Walking by. And so the president actually signed an executive order to make it easier for some of these people to get access to mental health treatment.
No, the president signed an executive order that makes homelessness illegal and allows the law enforcement to round them up off the streets and force them into prison.
And I don't know for the life of me what happened.
Also, you killed the Pope. You killed the fucking Pope, JD.
In this country where we decided that the compassionate thing was to let somebody fester on the streets instead of be
thrown in prison. He has to catch himself because instead of being rounded up, he actually had to catch himself.
Happened in this country where we decided that the compassionate thing was to let somebody fester on the streets instead of get the treatment that they need.
Almost had a Freudian slip right there, didn't yous?
It's very simple to me. And I don't know why we accept it as parents and as grandparents and as people who just want to walk down the street in comfort, why we accepted that it was reasonable to have crazy people yelling at our kids.
Bro, every time Donald Trump does a press briefing, it is crazy people yelling at our kids.
You should not have to cross the street in downtown Atlanta to avoid a crazy person yelling at your family. Those are your streets, paid for with your tax dollars, and you ought to be able to use them like any other citizen of this country.
Did you know that those are their streets too? Did you know that those homeless people are citizens of this country as well? Why don't you actually go for the root problem of poverty? Rather than taking the homeless and throwing them into fucking camps? How about the systemic racism? How about the fact that there are no social safety nets for the most marginalized members of our community? How about the fact that the VA doesn't take care of our veterans, and when they're in the military, all they learned is how to kill. They have no applicable skills to bring back to the real world. How about any of that? No, instead, we're just going to completely and totally avoid the question of where are these people going? They're being disappeared. Don't expect them to come back. If you're curious about what's genuinely happening, just go try to round up clips of listen to what the conservatives have been saying, the Republicans have been saying for the past 25 years about what they want to do with the homeless. They have wanted them dead since they were children. They want them dead. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing and it helps me immensely. And do me one last favor. Click that video over there. It's a banger. And I know bangers